Are you ready for the second part of the Sugaridoo Bernina quilt along? Hi there, my name is Irene and you are watching the Sugaridoo channel. And today we're going to do the second part of the Sugaridoo Bernina quilt along. We are going to make the very first row, so the top row of our quilt. And that is going to be triangles. This row is called On Point and we're going to use a foundation paper piecing technique on freezer paper to make these triangles. It's such a fun technique and I'm going to explain it all in detail to you. So if it's all new and you're a little bit anxious or scared to try this, bear with me. I'm going to explain every step along the way so that you can make your own triangle row. If you're just tuning in and wondering what this quilt along thing is, 4 weeks ago we kicked off the Sugaridoo Bernina quilt along. A quilt along where we have thousands of quilters from all over the world making the same quilt, and we're having so much fun. And I'm so glad that you're being a part of this. So if you are new here, it's not too late, you can still sign up. Every 4 weeks there will be a new row in the quilt along. And last time we made this one. Whoops. The row with hashtags, and this time we're making this row, a row with triangles. So every 4 weeks a new row will be put online and you can make that. The patterns are completely free. I'm making a video with video instructions to go along with the written instructions. The written instructions are in Dutch, German and English. So those you can find on the Bernina blog. And I'm going to put all the links in the description down below. So if you need any written information, just go over there and check that out. If you're interested in starting this project and you want to order a fabric kit to go with it, that's still possible. I still have the kits in store, so you can hop over to sugaridoo.com/QAL to get all the information about the quilt along, sign up for the quilt along, or get your fabric kit. So what is going to happen today? Well, today I'm going to give you instructions on how to print your pattern, how to prepare your pattern, how to use it on freezer paper, how to cut your fabrics, and of course then how to sew using foundation paper piecing technique on freezer paper, and after that assembling the row. So the first thing we're going to start with is showing you what materials you need today. First off, a foundation paper piecing pattern, and that one you can find on the Bernina blog. I will put a link down in the description below so that you can download it. It has 3 pages, so you should print all of them. And make sure that you print it true to size. So the width of this row should be 4 inches. From here to there should be 4 inches. And when that's 4 inches, you know that you printed it to the correct size. So then the next thing you need is an inch ruler, big one, small one, that doesn't really matter. We're going to do foundation paper piecing on freezer paper. So that is what you will be needing today as paper. And then of course fabrics. I'm making the rainbow quilt on silver. So I'm having a piece of light pink fabric, the gray for my background, and a tiny piece of accent fabric for an accent. And you only need 1 triangle in your accent fabric. And then some other tools that I use this row are a rotary cutter, some washi tape to paste my pattern together, a pen, scissors, and an add a quarter ruler. An add a quarter ruler is a really nice handy ruler which has a little notch on here. This little notch is exactly 1/4 inch. So this really is very helpful when doing foundation paper piecing. But if you don't have a ruler like this or a big one like this, no problem. I'm also going to show you how you can do this with a regular inch ruler. But these ones, doesn't matter if you have a big one or the small one for this pattern. These are the length of the seams that we will be sewing. So a small ruler for this project is big enough. Yeah, they are really handy. But if you don't have one, don't stress, you can also use a normal inch ruler. And that is all the materials that we need today. You can also find a written list on the Bernina blog. Whoops, almost forgot to tell, also you need a pair of paper scissors. So when you print a pattern, it comes in 2 pieces and, well, actually 3 pages. This is your section A, and section A is already finished, so we can put that aside. But section B is in 2 pieces. So from one page I'm going to cut over the dotted line. And on the other page I'm going to line those up and tape those together. So when you line those up, you want this to be in a straight line. So go ahead and grab a ruler and just check that this line is going straight. There we go. And then also section B is prepared. Now you want to get your freezer paper. And let's see, this is not wide enough. So I am going to take a piece that is just a little bit wider than section B. Just going to cut this. That's one for section B, and then also one for section A. Section A is a little bit smaller. There we go. And the great thing with foundation paper piecing on freezer paper is that you can reuse the pattern that you're making. So when I'm going to draw on my freezer paper, I only have to do that once for section A and once for section B, and then I can reuse that into making it a one long row for our quilt. So now it's time to transfer my pattern to the freezer paper. And for me, this freezer paper is see-through enough. But if you're having trouble with seeing through it, you can place it onto a window, or maybe you have a light box that you can use for this, or place it on top of an iPad or something. But for me, this is good enough. So just tape it in place, and then I'm going to trace this. And to trace it, I just use a normal pen. When I use a pencil, that tends to be a little bit smudgy. And when it gets smudgy, you have the chance of also smudging that on your fabric, and that is not something you want. I can tell from experience. And there we go. Those are all the pieces for section A. And what you want to do now is also number them. There's that. I'm going to peel this off. Also a good thing to mention, freezer paper has a glossy side and a paper-like side. So this is more shiny than this, and you want to draw on the paper side because the glossy side is the side that is going to stick to our fabric when we iron it on. So yeah, just draw on the paper side. Now that I've traced my pattern, I'm going to cut it out, and I'm not going to cut directly on the line, but just a little bit beside it. And you do want to cut it less than 1/4 of an inch. there's our pattern. It's almost finished. The next thing you want to do is to fold over all the lines you just drew. So you want to fold paper to paper, but because you can't see the line on the outside, I always like to first fold it in this direction and then fold it in this direction. Folding your pattern first really helps when you're going to start sewing later on. That is all folded and ready to be used. So let's also finish section B before we start cutting our fabrics. So there we have our two nicely origamied freezer paper patterns, and with these two we are going to make the whole row. The next step is to cut our fabrics, and for that I'm using our printed patterns as templates. So what you want to do now is get your paper scissors and cut out all the shapes from the pattern. But because there are a lot of repeating shapes, you will only need to cut A1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 8 and B1. So those are the ones you want to cut out. These are our template pieces, and I'm going to use those to cut my fabrics. So let me start with my main fabric first. So for me that is medium pink, and I'm going to give this a press. What you want to do then is you place your template piece on your fabric. And would you be working with print fabric, like this for example, then you would take your pattern piece and place it on the back side of your fabric with the right side facing up. So the pattern piece is going to be right side facing up and your fabric is going to be wrong side facing up. So that is how you cut your fabric on print. But I'm using only solids, so for this there's no wrong or right side. So first I'm going to trim off my self-edge. There we go. And then you want to cut your pieces with at least a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you can go and make a very precise small seam allowance, but I like to just make it a little bit bigger and cut my fabric like this. And what you can do now is take a pair of fabric scissors and cut it out, or use your rotary cutter and take a little ruler and cut out your pieces. It doesn't matter how you do it, but this is what you want to have in the end. So you want a fabric piece that is a little bit bigger than your pattern piece, and it should be at least a 1/4 inch bigger on all sides. From the A2 shape you need 2 pieces. The way I like to store my pieces is just stack them on top of each other and place my template piece on top. Maybe put a little pin in it, and then I will know later which pieces these are. So these can go over there. And then from the triangle, this is also going to be in pink or in your main fabric. From this you will need 23 triangles. I am just going to fold my fabric double, place my triangle on there and cut a strip so that it will be a little bit easier for me to cut. Oops, there goes my triangle. So and from this I'm just going to take a tiny ruler and cut triangles. So again, you don't have to exactly measure the seam allowance around the triangle. At least it should be 1/4 inch, but if it's a little bit bigger, that's better. Especially when you're a beginner, you do want to cut your pieces quite large. Because that makes it easier to sew. Let's see if we can fit one more over here. Yes, that is 18. That is 19 pieces. That is 23 triangles. So also from your accent fabric, you just cut one piece of a triangle. Now we have everything for our main fabric cut. I'm just going to put that aside. And then we have these pieces left from our background fabric. And to cut these, I also like to just use strips, because these are all the same width, so they will fit nicely on one strip of fabric. So I'm just going to take my ruler and cut a strip. And then let's see how many of each I should cut. I'm just going to take my pieces and write on there how many I need. So I need 3 of B1. From A4 I need 8. From A6 I need 11. From A1 I need 2. And from A8 I need 5. So then I can place them just on here. And I can do this with folded fabric like this. This is not a symmetrical shape, but I can do it with folded fabric like this because I'm working with solids. So these will be the same. But if you're working with a print fabric, then you don't want to do this with folded fabric. Then you should just cut one piece at a time and make sure that you have the right side of the pattern facing up and you have the right side of your fabric facing down. So then you would just cut one at a time. Okay, so this one is already done. I only needed 2 of those. So let's see what fits in here. I have this one or this one, quite the same, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut 8 of these. Small piece. Let's see if this still fits. Yes, perfect. So that is already 7, and yeah, I'm just going to continue cutting like this and making all the pieces. So now it is time to start making our row and start doing foundation paper piecing on freezer paper. If you're an experienced quilter and you prefer a different paper piecing method, go ahead and do that. That's all fine. The results in the end will of course be the same. But in this video I'm going to show you how to do foundation paper piecing on freezer paper. I love this method, especially because you can reuse those pattern pieces. That is just like magic. If you're new to quilting and thinking, whoa, a real quilting technique, help. Don't be stressed, don't be afraid. Just take it one step at a time. I'm going to show you the whole process. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing. You've already made it this far, so you can of course do this as well. Just take it slow, watch the whole video first, and maybe also watch a different video from me on how to do foundation paper piecing on freezer paper, where you see me make another block. Just sit back, relax, watch everything, and then try to do it step by step. Take it slow, and then I'm sure you will be just fine. So this is my setup for today. I have my ironing board over here because I'm going to do a lot of pressing. Have my pattern, add a quarter ruler and a rotary cutter, and my Bernina 770, which I'm going to use with just a straight stitch and stitch length 2.5, just a normal stitch length. So that is my setup. I have everything nice close to each other because I'm going to do a lot of pressing and cutting in between the sewing. And you want to start with your piece A and take a fabric piece from A1 and take a fabric piece from A2. There we go. So 2 fabric pieces. I'm going to start with piece A1. I'm going to place my fabric piece. If you're using fabricated print, you want to make sure that your print is facing down, so the right side down. I'm just placing that on my ironing board, and I'm placing my pattern on top of it. Let me show you how to line that up. So here I have my fabric piece with the right side down, but if you're using solids, it doesn't matter how you place it. And then I'm going to line it up with piece A1. And I'm going to make sure that piece A1 is in the center of the fabric. So on all of the sides, you should have a little seam outside the piece A1. So that looks good. And you have the glossy side down of your paper. And then I'm going to give this a press. And what this does is that it attaches the fabric to your freezer paper. And it's not permanent, so you can pull it loose, but it is permanent enough so that we can use this paper as a guide to sew our fabrics. So now that our first piece is attached, you want to fold back A2. There you go. So yeah, you have here a seam. You fold back A2, and then you take piece A2 and place it underneath the folded back part of the pattern. So here we have A2 folded back, and behind that there should be your fabric. So if you want to check that, you should flip this aside and just check if it's over there. And here you can see the nice pink seam popping out, and also on this side I will just keep my fingers on where I know piece A2 to be, and then I can check if my fabric is peeking out on this side, also on that side. That is looking good. So I know now that piece A2 is in the right position, and I'm going to keep my fabric folded back and take this up. So there is my piece A2, and take this to the sewing machine. I am not using any pins, but if you prefer to, you can of course do so. And what you now want to do is sew directly next to the paper. So you're not sewing through the paper, but just directly next to it. And what you then have is a little seam on this side. So you can fold open the paper, turn it around, and then you're going to fold open fabric and give it a little finger press. There we go. So now when we look at the back side, we have piece A1 over here and piece A2 over there, and the seam is nicely popping out on the edge. So now you want to give this a press so that this part of the paper is going to stick to that fabric. When you are pressing fabric to freezer paper, always make sure that you're not sticking the freezer paper to your iron, because when this glossy side gets hot, so when I would press my iron on here, then it would stick to my iron. So just make sure that you're pressing either on the fabric or that the glossy side is down, so that you're pressing on the paper side of the freezer paper. Ta-da! There we have our very first 2 pieces of our pattern finished. So this is a process that we are going to continue over and over, but I'm going ahead and showing you the next step, because then I'm going to start using my 1/4 ruler. But after that it will be just a repetition for each part of the pattern, and the steps are exactly the same. So let me show you how to attach A3. So I'm going to attach piece A3. Let me get that. That is this pink triangle, and I'm just going to fold it back over the line towards piece A3. So I've already folded it, so I can just peel off the fabric from piece A1 and fold it over the line that was already folded. So here we have piece A3, piece A1, and on the line towards piece A3 I'm going to fold. And now the 1/4 ruler comes in. Because it has such a nice little notch over here, I can just place it against my fold. And when I then take my ruler, my rotary cutter, I can just trim off this little edge of excess fabric, and then I'm left with a perfect 1/4 inch seam. Look at that. That is just awesome. That is so easy to use. But when you don't have an 1/4 ruler, just take your normal quilting ruler. So when you just take your normal quilting ruler, you're going to do the same. So you're going to line up the 1/4 inch line along the line of the fold, and then you're just going to hold on to this and cut. But when you're doing this very often, you will notice that this little guide is super handy. But if you're new to this and just trying it out, you can use your normal ruler, line up the 1/4 inch line with the folded paper, and then just trim off, so that you will be left with a 1/4 inch of fabric over here. So now this is all nicely trimmed. I'm just going to take my triangle and again place it behind the folded back piece of A3. So A3 is over here. So when you would look at it from this side, you would say we have to place A3 over here. So to attach it, you would line it up over here, sew it, fold it back, and then A3 is over there. But because we're using the guides on this side of the pattern, we're going to do it underneath what we already have. So I'm just putting down my piece A3, then checking where is it. It's here. So when I fold it back, it is over here, and that should be on top of my fabric piece. So here I have my A3, and that is right on top of the pink triangle. So we have fabric on this side, we have fabric on that side, and of course the seams are lined up, so we have a nice 1/4 inch of fabric over there. And that's it. We can sew this together by sewing just along the paper fold. Okay, so we've attached it here. So you can see here the little seam, and also on the other side. So then I'm going to fold back my paper, and I'm going to fold back the fabric. Give it a nice little finger press, and then press it with my iron. Ta-da! There is 3 pieces on our pattern piece. Awesome, right? Shall I just do another piece? And then you can see that the steps are repeating. So the steps are folding back the paper, using your add a quarter ruler or your normal ruler to trim off that seam, place your new fabric, sew, and press. So that are the steps. Let me show you again. So let's turn this over and fold back the paper over the line towards piece A4. This piece A4 that will be next. So fold it over the line. Take your add a quarter ruler or your normal ruler. Let me show you with this one. Place it here, hold it, and trim off your 1/4 inch seam. Then take piece A4 and place that first. Then check where your piece is. It's over here. So when I fold it back, it's over here. And that should be on top of my fabric. So this was a very large piece, so it's really easy to see where it is. Super large piece, but that makes it easier to work with. So yep, that is nice in place. Also, a 1/4 inch seam is peeking out underneath on that side. So now I can sew it. Opening it up. There we go. Giving it a nice little finger press. And then using the iron. And that is 4 pieces done already. And now you can also see the little triangle show up. So that is what we're making today, one long row with triangles. And for this piece you're going to make all the triangles in pink. And for the other piece, so you're going to make after this another times section A. And then you're going to make one of the triangles in your accent fabric. But let's first finish this section A. Yay, there is my section A finished. And now it has all these raw edges on the sides, so we're going to trim that off with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this is our finished section A, and because we want to reuse the pattern, we are going to peel it away. But before you do that, you want to trim all the edges to a 1/4 inch, because then you can easily sew it together to the other pieces. And for this, I'm just taking my inch ruler, I'm lining it up on the line over here. So I'm placing that over there, lining it up and trimming off so that I will be left with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now you can also see why I trimmed my pattern to less than a 1/4 inch, because now I don't have to cut through my paper. You see, there's the pattern, the paper pattern is smaller than my 1/4 inch seam, so I don't have to cut through the paper, which is perfect. So just going to go all around and cut away all the excess fabric, leaving a 1/4 inch on all the sides. And when you're not sure about your pattern or want to just double check, the total width of this should be 4.5 inches, because the pattern is 4 inches, so 1/4 inch on each side make this 4.5 inches. So instead of lining it up on this side, you can also line it up over here on 4.5 inches, or just do both and check if everything is correct and trim this. Final piece. here's our piece A, our first piece. And now you can pull away the freezer paper, which is just like magic. But you can reuse this, that is so perfect. Ta-da! So that is really the first section of this row, section A. We're going to put this aside because we're going to make another section A by using the same template. You can use this as many times as you like, or maybe when the stickiness becomes less, when you're doing a very big project with this technique and the stickiness would become less, then of course you will make a new pattern piece. But for this we only need 2 times section A and 3 times section B. So I'm going to go ahead and make one more section A with one triangle in your accent color, and that is going to be triangle A3. So you have to make A3 in your accent fabric, and I'm going to make 3 times section B, and when that is done I'm going to come back to you. So let's see what we have now. I have 1, 2, 3 times section B, all in your main fabric and background fabric, so pink and gray. And I have 1 time section A in pink and gray, and 1 time section A with 1 piece of accent fabric. So now all we need to do is put these together, and then our row is finished. So let's start by joining all the section B's. So here we have a section B, and here we have another one. And the thing you're going to do is you're just going to place them on top of each other, line them up, and sew this together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I've joined the 2 sections, 2 times section B, and this might look a tiny bit odd to you. So it looks like the triangle is chopped off, but that is only the part that will be in the seam allowance when you are going to join the rows. So those triangles are being chopped a little bit. That is just the way it should be. Those chopped off parts will fall off as soon as we join the quilt. So here we have the first 2 sections joined. I'm going to press this and add another section B. There we have 3 sections added. So now we only have to add sections A. And section A has a half triangle on the outside, and that should go on the outside of the row. So you're going to line up this side of the section to section B, and this side is going to be the outside of the row. So that is one side of the row with the half triangle on the side. So now on the other edge we're going to add the second section A, and that is the second row, well, the second part, the first row of the quilt along finished. I am super happy with how it turned out, and I thought it was fun to make. I really hope that you enjoyed this technique. When you're doing this for the first time, be patient and just maybe try it first with scraps of fabric, and give yourself lots of breaks, and allow yourself to make mistakes and practice, and that it doesn't need to be perfect. So the most important part of this quilt along is having fun and learning new things and making new friends. So when you're done, or when you're in the process of this row, post it on Instagram with the hashtag Sugaridoo Bernina QAL, Sugaridoo Bernina QAL, or post it in our Facebook group, which is an awesome group. If you're in there and you want to post your finished row, do post it in the album. That keeps things a little bit organized with a nicely overview in there. But yeah, do share it, because that helps inspire others. Maybe new people want to join the quilt along when they see your row finished. So yeah, that was it. I'm going to put this up with my other row that is finished, and I hope to see you again in 4 weeks at the end of January, when we're going to make the third part of the quilt along. If you happen to have any questions, next week I'm doing a live video in the Facebook group, so you can ask questions there. And of course you can ask questions in the comments down below this video, or on the Bernina blog, or in our Facebook page. Just ask your questions, because then we can help each other out. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!